So, in a very strange twist of fate, for the second consecutive season, the Lions are going into a game on the road against the team that eliminated them in the playoffs the season before, and the matchup just does not have the same energy that I was hoping for. Against the Niners in 2023, obviously the Niners won in the NFC Championship, and then in 2024, by the time that Week 17 matchup approached, the Niners were basically dead at that point. It still was a good game and an entertaining game, but the stakes of the matchup were not nearly what we were hoping for, and now this year, the Commanders obviously having eliminated the Lions in the playoffs in 2024 in a crazy upset. There's really no other way to put that. And going into this matchup now, it just doesn't have the energy I was hoping for now that, especially since Jaden Daniels has gotten hurt and the Commanders have disappointed a little bit this season. So this matchup, for as much as I'm like, yeah, I want to beat the Commanders, the wind has been taken out of the sails a little bit on this one. Regardless, though, welcome in, everyone. It is time to preview another Lions matchup. This time we've got Lions Commanders in Week 10 as the Lions coming off of a brutal loss to the Minnesota Vikings that Vikings fans were sure to tell me all about. And the Commanders coming off a brutal loss to the Seattle Seahawks in which franchise quarterback Jaden Daniels dislocated his elbow in an ugly looking injury, a scary looking injury. Thankfully, Daniels seems like he'll be relatively okay, but he's not going to be in this game, and the Commanders are beat up, the Lions are beat up, the Commanders have been bad, the Lions have been bad in the last couple of weeks. It's just the vibes. This is not a good vibes matchup right now. So today we are going to break down everything that you need to know ahead of Lions Commanders on Sunday. But before we do, if I could get you to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel when notifications turn on. We are so close to 600 subscribers, which is another one of these mini milestones for a small channel to hit. So thank you guys so much for the support. As of late, it has been incredible this season, and I'm so grateful for all of you that have, followed this journey and decided to follow this channel. So we're going to keep this thing going. And of course, ring the notification bell because I do go live every Sunday or every Lions game for, okay, I screwed that up. I go live for every Lions game. That's the headline there. So make sure your notifications are checked so you don't miss a live stream as well. And let's get into it. Now, obviously, there's no way to talk about this matchup without talking about what happened last winter, last January, with the Lions and Commanders in the divisional round. The Lions, who came off a 15-2 season, they were the number one seed in the NFC, and the Washington Commanders, who were not expected to make the playoffs last year. They had a fantastic season led by Jaden Daniels. They make the playoffs, they beat the Bucs in the first round, and then they march into Detroit and play just an unbelievable game. Almost every player on that Commanders roster played their best game of the season in Detroit. The Lions, too many turnovers, too many mistakes, and the Commanders beat them emphatically 45-31. That was one of the first Lions videos I put on this channel. If you want to go watch my tears after that one, it was a very frustrating experience. And that was the final game of Ben Johnson as the offensive coordinator in Detroit as he got hired as the Bears head coach. That was the final game for Aaron Glenn in Detroit as he got hired as the Jets head coach. There was a lot of change that happened as a result of that game. Part of it was expected, part of it wasn't, maybe with Frank Ragnow retiring, for example. So the Lions that you see now are different than the ones you saw last winter. However, a lot of the personnel, and obviously Dan Campbell is here, so the Lions are going to be amped up for this game. Like, not only is this a revenge game for the Lions, they need to just cleanse themselves of whatever happened in the playoffs last year. They also are historically pretty good after a loss under Dan Campbell in this era. So the Lions coming off a bad loss to Minnesota, I'm fully expecting them to come out very motivated for this one. They played poorly in all three facets, special teams, offense, and defense last week, so the motivation is not going to be a problem for the Lions. They're going to come out ready to go, and I do think the Lions, even though they're technically not healthier than the Commanders, where the Lions have the injuries is not nearly as significant as where the Commanders have injuries. Obviously, the biggest one being Jaden Daniels, who I will continue to mention throughout this video because he is, the best player on the Commanders, and he is the most important player on the Commanders, and him being out is going to be a massive loss for them. And admittedly, I was really sad when he got hurt because part of a revenge storyline is you want to beat the team that beat you. Well, Jaden Daniels is part of that. I wanted to beat Jaden Daniels after how great he played last playoffs, and now the Lions don't have that chance, so I'm a little bummed about that. Regardless, I do have to take some time, though, to talk about some things that have been happening in Lions Land this week because we are starting to see a little bit of dissension within the Lions organization, and this is not something that we have seen in recent years under Dan Campbell. And you might be asking, Zach, what are you talking about? Well, let's just say that the Lions internally don't seem to be on the same page at all. And what I mean by that is coming out of this Vikings game, Dan Campbell, he has press conferences all the time, and he said that he thought a lot of the problems on the offensive line came down to communication and not being able to properly pass off these blitzes and handle the stunts and twists that the Vikings threw at them. That was something I noted. Tate Ratledge especially struggled with that, with passing off some of these blitzes. So that is how Dan Campbell saw it, the head coach. The offensive line. Taylor Decker was asked about this, and he said, yeah, a lot of these problems came down to communication, and we just weren't on the same page. And then offensive coordinator John Morton comes out and says, no, the communication was perfect. The offensive line just got beat up, which was very bizarre for the head coach and the players to be saying one thing, and then the offensive coordinator to come out and say, no, the problem is our guys just lost. Which it feels the vibes are not great around the offense right now, and John Morton has gotten a ton of criticism lately and part of that's been me. I've criticized his lack of a diverse run game. He's been running a lot of 12 personnel duo through the B gap this season, and it hasn't always worked. He's really emphasized deeper concepts on third and medium situations where it'll be like a 3rd and 5 and he's calling plays that have routes that are 10, 15 yards downfield. There's not enough easy yards for this offense to gain. So I have my criticisms about John Morton, but one of the criticisms from him when he was with the Jets, his only other offensive coordinator stint, was that he clashed with players, that he couldn't establish a run game, and that he couldn't adjust mid-game. So we're starting to see some of those themes come around. I just think it's very bizarre for an offensive coordinator and a head coach to be sending such a different message out there. I know that John Morton clearly is just not as comfortable in front of the media, but he hasn't taken a lot of accountability this season. He has not once stood up there and said, I called a bad game, or I should have put the players in better positions. He's putting it on the players. He's saying, I'm calling a fine game, but the players aren't executing it, which, yes, I'm oversimplifying that, but he's saying this is paraphrasing, but this is a lot more akin to what he said, he said that the scheme is fine and it doesn't matter what plays he calls if the offensive line doesn't hold up, which is a fair criticism. We haven't seen a coach outright blame the players the way that Morton has been this season after losses. And it is fully fair to criticize the pass protection so far, especially against the Vikings. It was not good, and we've seen at times this season the pass protection just isn't what it was last year. Up the middle, Ratledge is not as good of a pass protector as he is a run blocker. Graham Glasgow has struggled at center, quite frankly. I have not been impressed with him. And Christian Mahogany was up and down, and then he got hurt. He's probably out for the year. He is now on IR, so Coyote Awashika is going to be starting at left guard. Both the tackles, Penei Sewell's been good. We have to talk about him. But Taylor Decker's been got a couple of times this season, as it happens to him. He's very stable, and he's a good starting tackle. He's not elite, though. He gets beat from time to time. So the pass protection hasn't been fantastic for the Lions this season. And now we're seeing that it just seems everyone in the building just seems to not be on the same page, and it's worth monitoring going forward. So for the Lions, going up against, quite frankly, a subpar Commanders defense, they've got to get back on track. We have got to see this Lions team run the ball more effectively, just all game. They were horrible against the Vikings. And if we go back to that playoff game, that divisional round game, the Lions were running the ball actually very well. Jahmyr Gibbs was having a fantastic game. And then the game script, the Lions had too many turnovers. They found themselves trailing by multiple scores, and they had to abandon the run, which was unfortunate because it was working so well. But I do fully expect the Lions to be able to run the ball in this game, which will help set up the play action pass, because the Lions, the way they're built is they have to be able to run the ball when they're behind schedule. they're not good. But when they run the ball effectively, they are able to set up the play action. They're able to work over the middle, and I fully expect them to get back on track offensively in this one. I do need to see them be more efficient down to down. That's one thing that they've lacked. Even though you look at like their points, they've been like they have a ton of points. They're second in scoring offense this season. But the down to down consistency and the explosive plays have not been there this season. So I want to see them do a better job in that department. Part of that is getting Jameson Williams more involved. For some reason, after talking this whole song and dance about getting Williams more involved, Morton didn't really call anything special for him, and JMO was only involved in the fourth quarter when the Lions were trailing because Goff started forcing the ball to him, and lo and behold, good things happened. So I want to see JMO more involved. Sam Laporta has been fantastic this season. Amon-Ra is Amon-Ra. Gibbs is Gibbs. Monty is Monty. Like the rest of the cast, I don't have a lot to say about them. They're good players. But Jameson Williams, we saw the flashes again last week. He needs to be more involved. Defensively, this is, again, Jaden Daniels is out, so the biggest thing for the Lions is they got to clean up the run defense. The run defense has been giving up way too many 10, 11, 12-yard runs this season, way too easily. I've talked multiple times about the struggles with setting the edge. Josh Paschal is working his way back. His 21-day window opens, so getting him back is going to be huge for the early downs. Aiden Hutchinson has just been crashing inside way too often this season. He's been getting got off the edge. I need to see him be a little bit more stable in the run defense department. He's been obviously elite as a pass rusher, but he's got to just settle some things there. But this is a Commanders team that has run the ball very well, and honestly, it's kind of the only thing that they've consistently done well this season. So without Daniels there, I know Mariota's in there. He's going to run because he kind of has to run. The Lions need to do a good job of stopping the run, putting the Commanders in these third and long situations, and then pinning their ears back. I just want to see, honestly, this is just kind of the theme of the game. I've seen the Lions be very sloppy. I've seen the Lions be very out of sync and inconsistent this season. I need to see them have a complete game in all facets. Just play a normal, steady game that they're capable of playing because they're a very good team, and just get a win. Let's settle down, do some of the things on offense you have to do enough on defense, just contain Mariota, keep him in the pocket, stop the run, and get into these third down situations, and let's just have a nice, clean win for the love of God, please. Because as we get into November, we're starting to look a lot more big picture. We can start to look towards the playoffs and towards the division race and what the Lions are going to have to do to win the division. This is going to be the time where they have to catch Green Bay. In November, obviously, the Lions play Green Bay on Thanksgiving in a couple of weeks. That is going to be a massive game for the NFC North and the prospect of winning that division. But as well, the Lions lost to the Vikings last week, which was a tough loss. But the Packers also lost to the Panthers, which meant the Lions didn't lose any ground. And now the Packers have a matchup against the Eagles on Monday night. So if the Lions are able to take care of business against the Commanders, and if they get some help from the Eagles, the Lions will move into first place in the NFC North. So I know that's a lot of that's right now, and it doesn't really matter because Thanksgiving is going to be the only thing that matters. But the Packers don't have a lot of difficult games on their schedule the rest of the season. So when they are in a tough matchup and they might lose, you have to put yourself in a position to gain ground on them. So the Lions, they're half a game back. If they are able to take care of business, let's hope the Eagles can take care of business on Monday night as well. If the Lions can just be in first in the division going into that Thanksgiving game in a couple of weeks, that would be ideal. Although there's a very good chance that even if they do win the game this week and end up first, the Lions then have to play the Eagles next week. So we'll be in a different position, but I'd rather be in a spot where the Lions are in first in the NFC North and then have to play the Eagles versus second, and then losing that game would also mean losing more ground in the division race. I just want to put them in a decent position here because admittedly, I'm starting to get the sense that, I don't know, I'm losing a little bit of confidence in the ultimate goal, which is winning a Super Bowl. I'm not convinced that this is the Lions' year. Again, I think they're fully capable of being the best team in football, but they just haven't been this season. They aren't living up to their potential. Everything isn't clicking the way that I was hoping for. So I want to see some signs that this team can be the number one team in football because, again, if you want to win the Super Bowl, if you want to go on a deep run, you're going to have to look a lot more convincing than you have the last couple of games because 2 of their last 3 games are losses. They need to just, quite frankly, be better because I'm starting to not be convinced the way that I was hopeful at the start of the year, and now I'm very skeptical. I know that's a lot of big picture talk for an individual game, but this game, the The Lions are big favorites. The Commanders are beat up. And quite frankly, this is a game the Lions should win. I know I said that about the Vikings last week. If the Lions lose to the Commanders, then we have massive, massive problems. The Lions need to win this game. I'm fully confident that they should win this game, but obviously that's why we play the games. I just need to see them show signs of being the team that they've been over the last 2 years, where in 2023, they were a half away from making the Super Bowl before a bunch of catastrophic things went wrong. And last year, they were the best team in the regular season. And then obviously they face planted in the playoffs. I just need them to show the signs that they are capable of doing the thing. So, yeah. So that's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to comment down below your thoughts on this matchup. Whether you're a Lions fan, just comment how you feel about the team at this point of the season. I know I have Commanders fans that follow me from the playoffs last year, so how are you guys feeling about your team at this point? I know this is a lot of Lions talk, but this is a Lions channel, to be fair. But let me know how you're feeling about the Commanders at this point of the season and what your expectations for this week's game are. I would love to hear from you. And again, I will be live on Sunday streaming this game, so be sure to have notifications checked so you don't miss that stream, and like and subscribe as well, as this is a small channel, and doing those things will help the channel grow, and I'd really appreciate it. And until then, my friends, cheers.